All right, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to week 217 of season 9. I don't think we're ever going to get out of this season. It's coming at us fast and furious yet again. Um, as uh Brian liked to throw out all of the movie metaphors that fit with us. We are stuck in the Groundhog Day segment of things. So there's several things that I want to just get out there as far as important dates. Number one, if we can all agree on it, we will not have a after action review call next week, seeing as how we've had three of them in successive weeks. So if everyone can give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down on having a after action review call. So thumbs up, you are good with not having one. Thumbs down, you really want to have another meeting um, in another consecutive week. All right, seeing plenty of thumbs up. Thank you very much. All right. Let's kind of look at what we've got coming up. So this weekend, of course, is the Browns Creek Block Party competition event number 4. Dates for you to be aware of. So the 9th, which is tomorrow, is going to be our town hall. The 10th, which is Thursday, is the end of the late registration deadline. And then the following week, April 18th is Friday. That is going to be the final category petition deadline. So there will be no more changes of category after this last round, simply because that's the final event of the series. And the whatever category you race at the final event is the category that you race at state championships. So if you have someone who is wanting to change categories, next Friday will be the final deadline for getting those category petitions in. Then that next week, so Sunday, April 20th, is the registration deadline for Sonic Speed Dash. Wednesday will be the Sonic Speed Dash Town Hall. Then Thursday, the 24th, is the late registration deadline. And then April 26th and the 27th will be the race at Ferris Memorial Park, Mayodan. And then we're on into state championships, which I'm not going to belabor those dates for you here. So be aware of those things coming up, and make sure that you are communicating that with your teams. All right. Our kind of news main topics for this evening. So the first one is one that has come to our attention, and that is student athletes warming up on roads. So at uh, Salisbury, there were a number of student athletes warming up out on Hurley School Road, which was a main road. It was witnessed that there was actually a student athlete riding down the center of the road with traffic on both sides of them, um, going in the opposite direction and same direction. So some of our student athletes are used to riding road. They're riding road for training and things like that. Very obvious that they understand how to ride on the road, but there is a whole cadre of student athletes that are either following their teammates out there to ride on the road or just going, oh, that looks like a good idea, and not having any clue about how riding on road works. This also presents an issue in that it's outside the scope of our venue and outside supervision of coaches. And so we really want to talk about this and message a couple of things. So, number one, there should not be anyone warming up on an active roadway that is outside of the venue. We had even a dog bite this past weekend at Mayodan when they were on the road that runs at the entrance of Mayodan, not on the road into the park, but that road that you turn off of. So communicate with your student athletes, communicate with your coaches. No one is to be out on the road warming up. This has a slight wrinkle to it with Browns Creek because some of the camping areas are on the other side of the road from the venue. And we know that some student athletes are riding from their campsite to the venue and do have to be on the road at that point. But I want you to really stress that student athletes should not be warming up on the road. Uh, that means that we as a league are going to try and develop better warm up areas for student athletes at our venues and make sure that there is something dedicated to that. Browns Creek is going to be a little bit in flux. Like we're not quite sure what we've got there, but we will be working to have something. Mayodan, we are fairly certain we have something, and then Danville will have to be planning ahead to get something there for that. So at this point, what we're asking is that you educate your student athletes and educate your coaches and educate your parents about not being on the roads to warm up, and then we will be doing our part to try and provide a warm up area designated for those student athletes that will allow them to warm up. Ideally, I really want to shoot for having warm up areas that don't require coaches. So you would be able to just say, you can go over there and warm up, and the student athletes can go warm up without coach supervision and then be able to be ready for their races in plenty of time. So, thoughts, considerations, or concerns about that you all have?
Yeah, I second what you're saying. There was a lot of chaos in the parking lot, and that was one of my
Yes.
topics today. I witnessed crashes. I was, um, basically like almost yelling at people to stop, just like swarming in random circles throughout there was all directions were going everywhere in that massive parking lot. It was kind of a big deal and it was difficult to warm up the athletes.
Yeah, 100%. So I witnessed that too. And that was already kind of tripping my concern bells. But then when I found out that they were actually out on the road and we even had a dog bite incident, that really kind of drove home that we needed to be
Yeah.
proactive in doing this. So as of right now, let me be clear, there's not, I'm not I'm not looking at trying to penalize anybody for this. Like, this is really about let's educate and let's come up with solutions and be proactive. I really don't think that you can penalize your way out of problems. So I don't think I could go and say, like, I'm going to give a 5 minute penalty to everybody who warms up on the road. And that would make any bit of difference because it would just be about getting caught and things like that. And that's not what we're about. So I think we've started to recognize that there's a real need for a warm up area that does not require coach supervision. And so we're going to do our best to try and come up with something for the remainder of the season. But looking forward to subsequent seasons, that will definitely start to become a part of venue planning so that we can provide that for everyone.
I suggest a large oval, that it's defined a direction and, basically a big short track without so many turns, but larger.
Yeah, I actually put that out to kind of the league staff about that, and also of taking some of the like adventure course obstacles. Like there's one that's these half logs, and then like these wave ramps that are just big and wide. So there would be like a feature that people could sort of hit to just sort of like, get that part of their body loosened up without it being, a issue at all. Like they're very low risk. So I think it would just provide a little bit more variety rather than just riding around in a circle, which I know a lot of people want to just do those openers and things like that. And a loop, an oval would be perfect for that, to just try and provide a little bit of variety for people just to try and get loosened up more. So yeah, that's a great suggestion, Greg. All right. Any other kind of thoughts, concerns, or questions about this for this coming weekend's event?
Yeah, I don't know the venue there. I'm sure some of you have been there a couple times, but I would be more than happy to help set that up if I could be a volunteer to help troubleshoot this on site on Saturday.
Cool. That would be great, Greg. I appreciate it. There's some we go by satellite photos, and we learned last night that the satellite photos we've been looking at are kind of outdated. and there's been some changes in the field areas. So it's really going to be like when I get on site Friday, I'll see what I can kind of locate and figure out and maybe designate as an area for us to do this. We did have a warm up loop in single track last year at Browns Creek. We'll be looking at that again and seeing if we can do something that would be, wouldn't require coach leading to provide that warm up area. Right. Let me just mention, see. Isn't there some extra course length at Brown's available? There's lots of different trail, obviously, but we want to try and not like once we start getting student athletes out of sightline, then we've got to start thinking about do we need to have it coach led and things like that. And I really want it to be something to where you're not having to have another coach dedicated to taking kids out to warm up. And allowing them to just kind of go off on their own and do a warm up in a safe environment. So all of these things are good things to be thinking about. All right. Um, all right. So the other thing, so head coach, team director task. This has kind of come to our attention as we've been processing late registrations, like people who thought they were registered or the student athlete said they were registered, but they really weren't. If we can ask that, like, uh, you know, before the late registration or even the regular registration ends, take a look at your pit zone and see what student athletes are not registered for the event, and maybe just shoot them a message in Team Snap, so that you can be kind of like going, hey, we'd love to have you join us at the event this weekend, but I see you're not registered. Is there some is are you able to make it, or are you going to sit this one out, kind of thing, just so that they get that reminder that they need to be registering for the race, and not waiting till the day of, which is kind of becoming a thing. We've processed quite a few of them. All right. Any questions about that? Everybody know how to look in Pit Zone and see who's registered for your event and all that good stuff. It's on your main page of your team. Just take a look at that. And if you have any questions, you can drop me a line and I'll be happy to help out. The other is that in addition to knowing that there's been some changes at Browns Creek from the visuals, we were actually informed last night on our staff call that there have been a lot of materials piles placed in the field area, mainly clay and some other materials that are used by the trail manager to actually build trail and maintain trail and things like that. So they're all kind of in a centralized area. They are probably going to beckon to your student athletes as like a place to go jump their bike. And what we are asking is that you go ahead and tell your student athletes that all of those materials piles are off limits. Like, we do not want to be riding on them. We don't want to be riding near them. We definitely don't want to be jumping off of them. They're all things that the trail manager is going to be utilizing, and we don't want to be interfering with any of that. We're also going to work to see if maybe we can have some kind of signage or something there, just so it's clearly obvious what we're talking about whenever a student athlete comes upon it, and so they don't get that, oh, I didn't know this is what you're talking about. So if you'll just talk with them about that, there's going to be some things that are off limits, and they need to respect that. Are there questions or concerns about any of that? We are going to try and have that stuff signed. When we start talking about tape and step in stakes, it starts to become like unwieldy, the amount of stuff that has to be torn down at the end of the day on Sunday. So we try to keep that to a minimum since we've got so much already. Try not to add too much to that. But if that is what's needed, we will be, doing something to make it obvious that it's off limits. And then, really, kind of the last thing that I have for everyone this evening is a call for signups. You all have been doing a fantastic job of, getting the word out to your teams that there's still needs for volunteers, still holes in what we have. And so I ask that you share this Sign Up Genius link, and allow, some more of those holes to be filled before we arrive this weekend. And that will help kind of lower the stress level of trying to get all those holes filled Saturday and especially Sunday, in order to have the event. So share that link with all of your families via TeamSnap or whatever communications you are using as a team. And we would be most grateful for anything that you can provide us. All right. Last but not least, for me, I want to let you know that Shell Frost will be the acting league director for the coming event. Brian is not going anywhere. Brian will be there at the race, and he will be with Shell, but Shell is going to be serving as the league director for this event as part of our kind of succession planning and just having backups for people. So be aware that whenever you are wanting to talk to the league director, you'll be talking to Shell whenever you have an issue or anything that you have a concern about. All right, that's what I have for everybody. Is there anything else that we're not thinking about or that you wanted to bring up that was something that you saw at Mayodan that maybe we need to be attentive to? Yes, Greg.
This is our first year, so I'm just noticing this pattern of results. There's a lot of kids that are registered and being called up, but
Mhm.
then the results only reflect those that finish. Is there? It seems like a standard in most of the races that I've done where the DNFs are being listed. Is that a NICA? Why aren't DNFs listed? I guess is what I'm
So,
asking.
so for our purposes, if a student athlete finishes a lap, then they don't get listed as a DNF. They go into what's called out of competition. And so they still get points and they're placed. Kind of think of it as like cyclocross when you finish like one lap down or two laps down. You still finish, you got pulled, but you are still given a rank in the finishings based on where you were at the time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, we only have middle schoolers racing. They're all single laps, but I
Right.
noticed like we had 51 on the middle school boys, but there's only like 42 finishers listed
Probably
for.
because they didn't all start.
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess that could be true. I definitely saw one or two not go up for but I guess yeah, it was interesting because I know one of my kids was like a 51 51st call up.
Hmm.
I didn't I didn't watch every single call up if a kid went up, but I mean, I'd have to look at it real quick, but
We
there
had we had
was.
over 500 student athletes registered to race, and we had slightly more than 400 who actually started.
Gotcha.
So there was quite a number of student athletes that did not race at the makeup for various reasons. A lot of it was spring break and things like that. So the only ones that are listed as DNFs are if they pull out of the race before they ever, finish a single lap.
I see. Because it looks like there was 39 actually on the before the sweep. But
Yeah.
yeah, I guess if they didn't start, there is a uh, timer, what Matt at the start too? Is that right?
No.
No,
So
that doesn't
uh
trigger the.
no, the start is triggered by the horn. So when
Hmm,
that horn goes off, they start the timing, and then that starts, and then it trips whenever they go across the finish map.
Oh,
I
I.
see.
Hey,
Does that
Interesting.
make
Sean,
sense? Yes.
along with that, so we have some student athletes that register to be there, but then they don't race because
Mhm.
they weren't planning on racing. Do you want us to tell you, like, if they're not racing ahead of time so they're not called up? Or, I mean, would this help at all with the issues? No. Okay.
That would actually present more work because then you're having to manually go in and pull those people out of the call up list. It's just the name gets called, nobody shows, next person gets called, they go in that spot. Super
Okay.
easy.
I guess,
All right.
yeah. In a lot of my motocross racing days, they were listed as DNSs or DNFs. So you either, you were counted one way or another, but there was multiple reasons. Like motocross is multiple motos. So you might be racing, 125 and 250, and you may broke your arm in 125 and you didn't start the 250. I don't know. It's just curious because I'm trying to figure out like, well, how many did he actually finish against? And it's hard to know if there was DNFs that weren't counted without them shown. So
They would be listed as a DNF, but I see Jim Otto has his hand up, and Jim Otto is our guru for this. So I'm going to let Jim weigh in on this.
thank you.
So everyone who starts will show up on the results, and the kids that don't show up won't show up on results. There is a trigger pad somewhere on the start chute that's separate from the race course, and that's how they get entered in. On the rare case that a kid crashes in the start and doesn't make it to that start pad, usually we get them added in. But that the short answer is we t the full season registration for all the races results in a lot of kids registering for every race and not showing up for them all.
That makes sense.
So,
I thought I
every race
saw.
we have less. Last couple races we've had a lot less because everybody was transferred from NC Car to Mayodan. And I know everybody in our area was on spring break, so we had about half the kids on our collective teams show up. So, but at any rate, the
Yeah.
number who anybody that shows up, anybody that started the race is um on the results. And like I said,
Okay.
uh all those single lap kids that DNF show up as a DNF. And
Okay.
then Don was saying if you're a multi-lap kid and complete one lap, then you get recorded as a result according to where you cross the finish line last.
Cool. I thought I saw Ben staking a mat down there. That's where I thought that it did trigger a start sequence there. I figured that's how you have
That's
to
so
get
we
the
know which kids actually enter the course.
right. Perfect. I do have a
Awesome.
couple more things. I don't want to just hog the mic here, but there was just, I guess because it's our first year, I'm just getting more acquainted to some of the things. But is it okay if I continue?
Go ahead.
Okay. As a camper, this past weekend was very warm, obviously, and we were in an RV. There was a whole bunch of RVs. It's not a tent, so you can open the windows, but it was freaking hot, so very difficult to sleep actually, and it didn't really get cool in our RV until maybe like 4 o'clock in the morning, and even running the fan inside, it's just really difficult. The second night, I don't know if anyone else heard them, but there were some birds that were extremely loud throughout the middle of the night that if my generator was running would have been a nice white noise. Even people there was a guy next to me that said, are you going to run that thing all night? He's like 7 PM. And I was like, no, I don't plan on it, but I want to say, I wish I could. And then the next morning I overheard someone asking him, did you sleep good last night? He's like, no, the freaking birds kept me up all night. And I thought it was hilarious because I bet my generator would have freaking drowned the birds out. So I don't know, like, I would like to raise my hand and say, like, I am for generators being used at night, and I don't know what it would take to make that change. But if there was a vote on it, I think we'd get a lot of people with RVs and motorhomes and stuff that would love to run their generator.
That's something that I can put forward to the league staff and our camping coordinator, and just kind of let them mull that over and see what goes on. And go ahead, and if you're coming to Browns Creek, you're gonna have the peacocks are gonna be making noise all night.
Nice.
So
I mean, I love camping, but
be prepared.
I really, I sort of always have I can't run my AC unit, even if I was blowing it just with a fan. It's pretty noisy, so it drowns out like anything that's going on outside. I mean, I used to tent camp as well, and I guess I just lost the joy of that. But I'd rather have a good night's sleep than than not.
All right. And your next question.
My next question is probably I think I can predict the answer for this one already, but I just I've brought this up a couple times. The fact that like my younger daughter can't ride during the weekend seems to become it's more of a family issue maybe, and I'm sure there's other families, but I don't see why we can't at the end of like a coach's sweep, let's say on Saturday, that course is on public land and there's no real way because we see other people that aren't NICA related using the trails. I would love to maybe get like some kind of like I'd say what I'm guess I'm saying is that generally speaking, as a mountain biker, anytime you put your leg over the bike, whether you're riding in a parking lot or you're riding on a trail, you're taking a risk. And I don't see why I can't take my daughter for a lap around the trails if she wants to. She's 7 years old, but she's, quite capable. Just the same as if I wanted to take laps after the coach's sweep was over. I know that this is an insurance issue, I'm sure, but I don't know. I mean, just fielding the tears on her eyes every time that she wants to go ride and she really can't go anywhere with it. She wants to be a part of it. She's wearing the jersey. She's helping set up course, but then she can't ride her bike. I mean, she can ride around the parking lot, but it's not. She wants to be on the trail. So, I guess comments on that.
I will defer to our league director on that one.
Okay.
It does boil down to insurance. So when we have an event, those trails are closed to the public. Same as having parents who are not registered coaches being out there. That's why everyone needs a race plate. Anyone without a race plate is not covered by our insurance.
Right. But there are people from the public on the trails and in the parks. So even though if they're quote unquote closed, there's no signs up that say that they're closed, and there's no preventive measures being taken to keep people out. So I just
There,
don't see
there
the.
actually are. So, like at Danville, there was a big sign saying that the park was closed for the weekend because of the bike event. And then we are telling people, like, I'm sorry, you can't be on the trail. Like when we see when we see anybody without a plate, we are approaching them and saying, I'm sorry that the trails are closed and you can't be riding here. And then we direct them to where they can ride.
I'll also say, if you know folks who are willing to take the lead on trying to plan some sort of activity for younger kids to participate, I am more than happy to talk to them and then bring that idea to NICA to see if there's something that we can do, but it requires people willing to take the lead on it and help organize that.
Yeah. I guess we go to a lot of other mountain bike races, and it's clearly not NICA, and there's no insurance, but there's also no one stopping you from riding at whatever amount of laps you want to take around the course, even after it's been marked and things like that. And she's really become, I guess, acquainted to that from the point of the time that she was able to hold on to my handlebars at less than I don't even know what time I started with her, but she's been on a shotgun saddle pre-riding every race course since she was born, basically. And it's just really difficult for her to understand why she can't ride. She's definitely more capable than a lot of the fifth grader riders that are out there that I'm seeing ride when I'm on the side of the trail. I mean, she's quite skilled for a 7-year-old, pumping over stuff. I mean, she really knows how to ride well. And it's like, it's breaking her heart. And it's hard for me to sit there and say, like, I'm sorry, you can't ride all weekend. But I can't leave her anywhere else, so she has to come along, and she's just getting really not psyched about it. So I know that I don't want to cater to a 7-year-old here, but I don't think that it doesn't seem like a logical reason, but at least to me.
Elise, I see you have your hand up.
Greg, I think in this situation, there are a lot of little siblings, even on our team, and they do bring bikes and they're allowed to ride around outside of pit zone. But we, as the parents and the coaches, we really try to set a positive view on this and just say, hey, this is for the middle school and high school. You'll be able to do it soon, but just try to keep a positive spin on it, and then they will see it the same way.
Yeah.
Hey, Greg, I just had an idea, and I'm not about to spearhead this because I don't have little kids. Mine are all out of the house. But maybe something, if you did want to do, could be like if you in the field could do a little pop-up. Could they do like their own little pop-up bike park with their own, cones and stuff, and I don't know, little games you could get together with some other little kids to do.
Like a mini adventure
Yeah.
course.
I don't know if they're allowed to do that, if it's like if it's by your campers, but I don't know. It's
Well,
just a thought.
for instance, like we did the Rock Hill short track series in Rock Hill, South Carolina, and she raced with the 13-year-old group and did 2 laps on the course. I mean, like she's a tough chick that can ride very well and doesn't, I mean, like I said, she could be competing in the 5th grade category and be fine with those kids. And I mean, like I said, she's got more time on a bike than 90% of them, clearly. Um, I don't think that every kid should be on the trail by any means at 7 years old, but I think that there's exceptions, and I feel like once the course is swept by the coaches and the coach sweep, then at that point NICA can then be clear of that. And if my child breaks her arm out there, then that's on me and her. And same with myself. If I crashed out there after the coach's sweep was over, I mean, I'm a responsible person. I'm not going to be blaming anyone for it, but I'll drop it at that. It's just something that I'm noticing is a difficulty for myself and my family.
I see that Onslow County coach Brian Russell has his hand up.
The league director of the week gave a fantastic answer. Greg, the hardest thing we do in this league is what I call balance. Not every kid in this league is capable as your daughter. Not every parent in this league has the same attitude you do of, hey, it's going to be my concern and not the league's concern. And me and the league staff want to go to bed at night with our non-air conditioned campers because we're tired at the end of the day and not be responsible. Because I am. I'm responsible for everyone that's at that venue, and that's the agreement I set with most of the venues to say I'm going to be responsible for everything that happens on that venue. That's not to say I'm not sensitive to the issue. I see them. I feel the pain. I see all the little ones out there that I want to be involved in our activities, and we're thinking hard about how we can do that appropriately, given all the guidance and all the considerations that we have to balance. So thank you for bringing that up. Thank you for continuing to challenge us to get more kids on bikes. It might be the best and or the worst kind of tagline NICA has. I want to get more kids on bikes, but I got to do it the right way and make sure it balances all of the considerations from across the league. So thank you for continuing to push, and we're going to take that on board and see what we can do for you. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Other points for consideration that we need to talk about.
And I just mentioned I see several suggestions, and Abby had mentioned as well about kind of a adventure zone or some sort of activity for the younger siblings that circles back to what I mentioned before, that if there's someone willing to organize that and take responsibility for it, I'm willing to take that to NICA as a proposal that we offer something like that, but it takes someone to run it, because circling back to what Brian mentioned as well, we can't attest to the skill level of every kid. That's a challenge even when they're going as low as 5th graders, because not every 5th grader has the same skill level. So we have to make sure that we're being responsible for everyone that we are offering activities to, and doing that safely and that they're supervised. So again, those are great suggestions, but if you want to do something like that, even just for the littles, let me know, and I'm happy to help someone else organize that.
Abby Walker, I saw you had the old school hand raise.
Yeah, I can never find the hand thing on there quick enough. Somebody had mentioned, and I just thumbs upped it, but I wanted to say and especially from where we are, it says, is there a way to regularly end the day earlier? Can't tell you how nice it was to walk in the door at 6:30 p.m. I mean, we're lucky if we get in usually by 9:30 or 10. And so, we're just having some discussion, like, can we always have a condensed schedule? And I know it's probably a race committee conversation, but I just wanted to put I know that's not going to change anything this year, but it surely it was real nice.
It is kind of magical. I was in the same boat as you, like actually got home and was like, oh, it's still light outside. Like that was kind of crazy. Um, realized that cut a lap out of varsity JV1 races to make that time up. And you've got those student athletes wishing that they had an extra lap to race. So it is a balance, and we'll continue to work on schedules and making sure things are, able to run the way they are. Jim, do you have some thoughts?
Yeah, so I mean, I wasn't at the last race, but I still can't figure out why it takes so long to get podiums going. So this week we should have the races done 2:30, 2:45, and usually the course is completely packed up and then we wait an hour. And why does it take so long to?
That's not what we've been doing. So we've changed, and so now what we do is, once everything is back at the trailer, then we roll into podiums, and then after podiums, then the league staff packs the trailer. So before we were like, it was always pack the trailer and then get going, but now once we've got everything torn down and everything's back at the trailer, so just scattered around, but we have verified that everything's off the course, we roll right into podium so that we're kind of minimizing that time lag.
So that
Chris.
that was what happened at Mayodan then.
Yep. Yep.
Okay,
And
fantastic.
that happened at Danville also.
Well, seems like Danville was a long time, but
Yeah, it was the same thing, but Danville we had some technical issues too with the podium as well. So yeah.
okay,
Chris
great.
Novak.
Thank you.
There we go. This is a point that I wanted to bring up, and I think this just led right into it. I'm not always able to, and not everybody's always able to volunteer to help tear down the course. But I can tell you that having tried to do that as much as I can after I get my own team in order, especially being shorter staffed, there are a lot more people volunteering at Maiden to get out and get the course torn down. And that made things go a lot faster in my observation. And so the more we can do that, the less time you'll be sitting in your comfy chair waiting, no offense, but waiting for the podiums to start and wondering why it's not starting. If we get 5, 10, 15 more people to just get up and go grab some course tape, do whatever they can to get stuff to the trailer, then we would get out a bit sooner. So definitely noticeable at Maiden, Danville as well. I think kind of more people jumped in, but certainly at Maiden, it was a big push to get everything rolling. We knew we wanted to get out before the rain. And so I definitely urge people to send a couple able bodies in the direction to help tear the course down, and we'd be out of there faster.
100%. And then Onslow County coach Brian Russell, you had your hand up.
Well, it's already been addressed to Jim's point. We've changed our process. Just need to know everything's back. We'll load the trailer later. And then Jim at Mayodan, it was 15 minutes from the time I had results, and I spend that time reviewing and make sure everything's set to me walking down to the pavilion and announcing awards. So we're doing it about as quick as we can do it right now.
Awesome. Other things that we've noticed that we would like to discuss? Is that it?
I'd like to give one more compliment to the league. I think that the recent changes in doing the getting called to the principal's office instead of the principal coming and looking for you, I think that has seemed to be working well, and we definitely appreciate that we're taking that step to follow both the guidance that was set and to have that way of being able to make sure that we're being attentive to penalties or whatever comes up. So thanks for making that change. I think it's been a positive one so far. Hopefully others have been feeling that way too, but
I'm thrilled because I am not having to walk nearly as much as I have been. So what about moving podium to Saturday? Let's see. What about moving podium to Saturday after the race? Is there extra time on the following Saturday? Just suggesting something different. Saturday is already a fairly packed kind of day, but we can definitely, I'll share that idea with everyone, and the league staff can talk about it. For sure. It's always another idea. So yeah. All right. Well, if that's it for the evening, let me end our recording